Hi, I'm James from OA Systems. This video is to take a look at the Dynamics 365 Customer Engagement Platform overview. And this particular part of the video is going to focus on the sales functionality. So many people would look at this as a CRM system. That's what it was previously called, but it has been renamed the Sales Hub. And this version of it includes the Sales Insight license, which has some additional smart AI functionality. And we're just going to focus on some of those areas while generally crossing what the core use of the system is. So hopefully if you've ever thought about a CRM system or looking at something like that, one of the things you'll want out of that is to obviously capture a lot of information, but once you've captured it, you need that information to drive you in the right direction. And a lot of that we've seen over the years that we've delivered CRM systems comes from visualization and being able to use that visualization to do something with it. So one of the more recent additions to the platform is the Assistant. And you'll see over here, I've got it set up so that it'll show me any opportunities closing soon or any emails that I have to send at a particular time. So if I go and click on one of these here, I'll go click on an opportunity that's passed. It will pop up just a quick view of the form. It'll allow me to open the opportunity form, to do some other things on it, and also have the option to snooze or close it. So I can basically snooze that reminder to a later point in time so that it still pops up and reminds me, but isn't in my way right now. When you're looking at the charts and views that you can have in a dashboard, one of the excellent functions is that you can both pop them out to give you a full screen view of the chart. So if you've got some visibility that you really need to drill down to, and if you want to see the records that make up that chart, you can click on that option there, and you'll see here it's gone into this view. And if I want to see everything that's currently in the proposed stage, I can click on that, and that is interactive. So it will show you what that chart is made up of. If I just go back to the dashboards, if you're not aware, the Dynamics platform links in very tightly with Power BI. One of the real big benefits of this is that Power BI can pull information from external platforms. So you do not have to hold the data in Dynamics. As long as you've got some sort of unique identifier where you can link that information together in your Power BI report, you can actually have some good visibility of things going on that are being held outside your Dynamics environment, and be able to chart those. And previously you had to pop out these charts to be able to drill into the details, but if you see here, they are interactive inside the form, and so that's quite useful for you to be able to work on dealing with information that comes up in these views. But you can pop out to the larger Power BI platform if that is something you want to do. So we're going to move on to the Sales Accelerator feature. This is something that is part of Sales Insights, and as you'll see here, it will bring up a view of recommended task items that you should be working on. So you'll see here I've got a task that's due today. It's got a reminder email, and what is showing here is quite a bit of information that should help me be able to work with this lead. So we will jump into some of this when we go into the lead form. But as you can see here, we've got a couple of things going on. So it's telling us our lead score. That lead score is showing up over here on the screen, and it does actually break it down into what criteria we've set up that will get that score to the 90 that it's got there. It does give it a grade, which is based off that number, and it does tell us the status of that. So as you can see, it's steady. The relationship that we've got with the client over time seems to be remaining as is. It's not decaying and it's not improving. What you can also see here is that assistant reminder. We had an email that was due to send that has shown up on this particular form as well. So you can either look at it at the dashboard or you can see it at the record level, and you can click on that and then send that email. And you'll see here we have a poor relationship, even though that lead score is 90. and it's steady over time. So you may be wondering, where do we get that understanding of where that relationship is happening? And you'll see we've got relationship analytics over here. So I'm just going to click on that. And this will happen on both the lead form and the opportunity form. So you'll see we've set up some metrics, and these are our key performance indicators. And it's saying that we have calculated that lead score and relationship health based on these criteria. So you'll see you've invested 12.8 more hours compared to the customer. That is not the greatest sign that you're getting the response out of the customer that you're looking for. So these are definitely editable, and these ones down here just show how that's made up. So you'll see we've got the interactions, hourly investment, email engagement, response time, which is an interesting thing we haven't had in the system much before, and the relationship activities that are being sent and received. So hopefully that makes sense. If you're not aware of the process-driven form, if you've got an organizational internal process you drive leads or opportunities through, or basically any type of record, so if you've got an account onboarding process and you want to have that on the account form, you can have that there as well. And what that will do is basically grab fields that are on the table and pull them up so that as you're going through each stage, your relevant required information is basically making sure it's captured at that stage. If you do have something that you don't want to move out of the qualify stage until you've got that information, as in something like you've identified the decision maker, you can make that a mandatory field only at that stage. Historically, what we've seen with organizations is people will say, we've got a mandatory field on the form. They open up the form, filling it in for the first time. They don't actually know the answer to that question. So what they'll do is just fill in junk information and close the form. This allows you to stop that junk information being put into the system because you're only requiring it at the stage where it's actually relevant. The other thing we've got going on in the middle of this form is two things. So we have the up next visibility, and you'll see I've connected this to a sequence, which is new lead nurturing. So every time we set up a lead in the system, it will be attached to the nurturing sequence. That is made up of a series of steps, and you'll see there's a reminder, email, customer call, thank you email, and schedule meeting. So every time you set up a lead, you can put this process in place. You'll see we've also had a previous step. So I've done an introduction email. When that was sent, there was a timer, which was basically call back in 7 days. And you can see that basically that timer has already triggered and is counting down until this reminder email is due. Obviously, if you jump that step, you can close that and move on to the next one. And then down in the timeline, there's actually the email that I've sent from Outlook. Now, it does say it was undeliverable, but that's because this is sample data. And what I do want to show you in here is a couple of pieces of smart functionality around emailing. So you'll see we've got this option here, export to PDF. If you've got a standard template on your lead form, such as an introductory email that you want to attach, and it's got a template that you want to pull in there, you can do export to PDF. So while we're looking at the timeline, what you can see here is we've actually sent an email out, and what I'm going to do is just open that up quickly. And you'll see here we have the email creation form from inside Dynamics. A lot of people send their emails from Outlook, but you can send templated emails from inside Dynamics. And what you'll see here is when we sent this email, we actually decided to follow it. So it does actually show us that the email was opened and we have received a reply. Now, of course, as you can see here, that reply is just from the server saying that this was undeliverable, but it does give us a lot of interesting capabilities to be able to attach information and see if anyone has viewed the attachment or if we've sent any links in the email if they've clicked on the links. So that gives you real visibility around email engagement. We also have some other things that go on in this timeline, but I will show that on a later screen. So that is quite a lot of information coming out of that sales accelerator. If you jump through to just the standard lead form, you will see that you don't necessarily have to have the accelerator down the side here. You will still get access to all this information, but it is useful to have basically a list of recommended tasks for your team member to go through to get their job done. That was previously how I'd recommend organizations would use activities. But obviously with that sales accelerator, you get a lot more visibility around things you can do. Activities are still useful, so you can have your visibility around activities, some visualization around activities by priority or whatever criteria you want to look at them at. One of the really interesting things that's a recent change to the platform is both the ability to go in and edit the view, add additional columns to it while you're in the session. So while I'm still logged into this system, if I go and add the date created field, what you'll see is when I apply that to the platform, and we'll put that there, my activities has an asterisk. So if I go out of this view and then go back into it, it will still show up with that asterisk. But if I log out of Dynamics and come back into it, that asterisk will be gone. So it will only hold that change for the session. Otherwise, you would still want to make a change to the platform, which is a system view change. But that's incredibly useful if you just want some basic information that you don't get out of your standard view. And in here, we do have filtering criteria, which is just if this, then that type functionality to be able to see in here. What you're seeing is my activities are open and scheduled. It's a normal activity, and it's me as the current user. So if you go in and change any of those, you'll end up with some other views, and you can see in here, we'll obviously look at publishing the system so that you only get the ones that are relevant to you at the time, but you can have quite a significant amount of different views to be able to look at information. So if I want to go in and look at all my closed activities. Okay, we're going to jump into something here, which is called the Deal Manager. This is under preview, but it is incredibly informative about the direction the platform's going and some of the functionality you will be able to get out of it. So as you can see here, with the Deal Manager, what we've got is a bubble chart. Underneath, we've got a list of the activities that relates to. So those are opportunities. And we've got a good deal of visualizations there. So the different stages of engagement, lead, opportunity, develop, propose, and close, relate to the different colors. So as you can see here, you have a key that shows you which different colors are related to which. If you have a look here, obviously the size of the bubble gives you some understanding around the estimated revenue, and the close date is driving where it's positioned on the chart. So that's really useful for a quick visualization. You'll see here for this particular sales team member, he's got a lot of opportunities that they expected to close, that those dates have already passed. So that would be an interesting way as a sales manager to come in and look at that chart and start to get some understanding around what's going on there. This is also a new way for Dynamics to work because we're getting some roll-ups at the top of the form here. So you can see it's got an understanding in my open opportunities, number of total deals, estimated pipeline value, number of sales and pipeline. That's fair enough. That might be if you come into something like all opportunities. You'll see you'll end up with a different number there and a different view of these all being at the close stage. But the interesting thing about this is if you come into edit metrics, you can actually create new metrics, or you can say, you know what, I actually don't want this one showing up on the chart, and I don't want that one showing up on the chart. And you can come out here and those will be removed from your view. So you get an ability to control that roll up at the top of the form. If you look down here, you've also got a roll up at the bottom of the form. So anywhere where there's a number field, you have the ability to do the sum, average, minimum, and maximum. So, if you're going in to look at probability, sum isn't a particularly useful number there, but you can see that it is. For estimated revenue, you are going to want the sum functionality. So another thing here is you can switch from the deal tracker to, I'll just switch back to open opportunities, to a sales funnel. So you'll see when I do that, and we've taken out those closed opportunities, that part of the sales funnel is actually very small. But you've got your sales pipeline that we're quite used to in Dynamics. And the other thing you can do with this, and this is where this new functionality has been indicated that it will be available across the rest of the system. You can go and click on a record, or this also works if we're back here and we click on a bubble. So you'll see when I click on that, it will open up a quick view form that gives us some key details. These are editable, and who the contact are, and if there are any notes or tasks. So if we come back to another one here, if we come back to another record here, what you'll see is we have some notes in here, and we can go set up some tasks, either adding them in this way, or if you want to go over here and add a number of tasks, you can add it very quickly into the form there. All of this system has a lot of editing, and there is control around things like colors, layout, a range of other things you can do with this particular type of form. The only other thing that we have been requested by a number of people is if you want to come in and have a look at just the list view there, and you can do grouping. So you'll see you can go in and just quickly look at, for this account, what are all the opportunities. If you want to do it by owner, so team member, you have that capacity there as well. You don't have to do that as just the list. That works also when you're doing it with the bubble view. Okay, we're going to jump over now to some functionality that's available as part of the Sales Insights capability. This is to be able to run from inside Dynamics, the ability to capture emails and contacts. So if you have worked with the Outlook client, and we will jump over to that in a later part of the demo, you'll be aware that you can go into an email in Outlook and open the Dynamics app for Outlook, and what it will do is allow you to save a lead, a contact, or account, and capture that email to the system. But what you've got here is from inside Dynamics being able to do the same thing. So this has gone and looked at my emails and said, is there anything that's sitting in my inbox that isn't tracked that it would suggest that I do track? So I can come into here, and if I select that, you'll see I can sync and connect. So that would connect it to this account, which has been created in my system, or I can go in and edit some of the details of the suggested activity. So you'll see what it's going to do. I click on that and track it, and I can go to the Microsoft form. So you'll see here what I've got is the emails that I've tracked that they have suggested I should put against this contact, and it's also showing the other ones that were still showing in that preview that potentially these ones are not in the system at the moment, but should be shown in there. Contact suggestions are exactly the same. They are email addresses that have come through They seem to be associated with an account that exists in the system, but we haven't tracked the contact. So this is a really good way to see if you come in and have the system suggest, hey, these are people you're dealing with, you're engaged with, but you're not tracking your communications with them in the system. Here's where you can go and quickly go through and, as you see, similar with the activity suggestions, you can come in here and save as a contact. So we're going to jump over to the account form. So if you'll see, I'll jump in here just to one of our accounts. And we've got that same information on an account form that we had on the lead form that was shown under the Sales Accelerator. So there's visibility around the relationship analytics, how our time is being spent engaging with this organization. But one of the other things we have showing up here is the ability to look at our notes analysis. So what this done is it's gone and looked at the information I've captured on this phone call and has said, I believe that this is got some information in here that you should turn into a task. So you can go and just create a task, or you can create and edit, and what that'll do is pop open the quick create form and give you the ability to set the description and the due date, which I find very useful for managing my engagements. Okay, so what we're going to do is come in here and take a look at accounts. As you can see, we've got some of that information that we were showing you before. You can have the Sales Insight form, which will have that relationship analytics, but I've just got a different form laid out here. The activity suggestion, there hasn't been one suggested for this account, so you can see it sits there empty, but you can quickly close that. And what I do have here is a task that has got some details inside that the system has gone in with its AI and suggested, I believe this is something you should create as a follow-up task. So it's put that hyperlink in blue in there, and if I go and click on it, you'll see it'll drop open the new task suggestion, and I can create it, but that'll put it in with no due date and time. So if I edit and create, it'll pop open the quick create form. I can fill in the description and put in a due date to follow that up in. So at this stage, that's where I found so some of the other capabilities that we've got on this form is when you look at the toolbar at the top here, we've got the export to PDF function. So if you have any existing templates that you've set up for records, you'll see in this case I've set up the account summary. What you can do is click on that and it gives you a couple of options. So first of all, you can email that straight out to the client, and as we saw before with the emails you send, you can follow those and see whether they click on them, open them, reply to them as part of the record. But you can also directly save that information to SharePoint. So if you've got members of your team who are not working in Dynamics, but they do have Office 365 access, they can have a look at this document that you've saved to SharePoint, or you can download it and do some editing yourself. So that will save it as a PDF against that record. And if I click the Save to SharePoint, it will actually go and have a look. In this case, I haven't actually set up a SharePoint folder, but if you have, it will go and put it in a SharePoint folder that will be named after this account. You can have your own controls with how SharePoint is set up, but that is the out-of-the-box functionality. The other option you have is, depending on which version of the system you've got or what your local feeds are available, you can actually have, for accounts, the ability to go in and when you type an address, have it pull from something like in New Zealand, we have the postal address finder, which goes to NZ Posts and checks against the post office address list. to make sure that the address you're putting into the system is a valid one, and you are able to meet any criteria you have with your postal service to meet accurate addresses for sending. So what we're going to do now is jump over to contacts. When we're looking at the contacts form, we have mostly looked at the information that I'd expect to address in this. This is, as shown before, just an account where you can capture a range of information. On any form we've looked at in the system, any of these fields are editable, and you have a range of different field types. So you have an open text field, you have a lookup field, so this is looking up other record types, in this case account records, and you can attach them. You can have phone number, and you'll see it will recognize a dialable phone number, or you can have a drop-down menu. So there is quite a range of functionality you can achieve with that. You can also have multiple option sets as well are available in the system. With this particular environment, I've got a preview of the upcoming release. So as you saw, this record here has a phone option at the end of it. If we click on that, I'm not actually connected to a real-world Teams environment that allows me to make phone calls, but what it's going to do is pop open the Teams preview form here and try and dial that number. Now I'm just going to hang that up. But if we did have a successful call that happened there, what would happen is that dialing would go and create a phone record in here that we could fill in after the call to make any notes about what happened during that call. So that's one of the ways we integrate with Teams. The other one is here where you can see the collaborate function. So if we click on that, we can go into Teams and create a relationship with this record. What I'm going to do is just go over and click into my Teams form here in Office 365. And you'll see I have a number of records already set up where I've created that link. And I'm just going to go click on this one here. If I go click on our general form with them, and you'll see I've actually tracked this against the opportunity for Northwind traders. And when that loads, what it does is it's actually a view of the record in Dynamics. So it's loading the Dynamics form inside Teams. And you can also use the system to be able to go, in this case, look at an opportunity, add internal members of your team to this particular team, and then have your chat. And you can see here yesterday I put in some information. So anyone coming in and looking at this through Teams would be able to see what's going on the account, and also be able to see the chat information that's happening internally. One of the good things is it's not put on the timeline, so that if you set your timeline to be linked to a web portal and your client can see the communication, there's no risk of an internal chat showing up on an external timeline that's being published outside your organization. What I will say is Microsoft are always updating the Teams functionality. So anytime you're looking to jump into the system, I would recommend going and having a look at what has been changed or updated, because that is improving constantly and at quite a rapid rate. So we have had a look with the Sales Accelerator at a lead form. I think we've hit on most of the functionality in here. But obviously, as mentioned, you can just run a lead form without going through the Sales Accelerator. What is interesting is if you come out to the view here and you have the Sales Insight functionality turned on, that rating that we've got, the lead scoring, if you come in here, you can actually come in and see that it gives you that view and also a color grade on my open lead score. So this is showing me, it's just showing me all the ones that have achieved a score, the ones that have the highest grade, and what the relationship type is doing. But that is an incredibly useful way for you to be able to identify what your next best lead to work on is. So you'll see we have a couple of different views that show how that relationship is being set up and how that score is being managed. So similar with opportunities, as you'll see there, we can have relationship views, we can have scored views, and we can have my opportunities without sequences views. So once again, that's just a quick way to be able to use the view to show you a long list of what's being worked on rather than having to go and ferret them out yourself. Inside opportunities, what we do have is the ability to add price lists to an opportunity. And if you have a price list, you can attach products. So those price lists can be synced to external systems. So if you have a financial system that's managing your price list and you want that to be pulled through to Dynamics, we can manage that. It does work incredibly well with the other Dynamics products, including Finance and Operations and Business Central. And if you click on the Add Products button, what you'll see is because I've already attached a price list, this is all the items in that price list. Here are items that are recently used, if we have used them, and you do have the ability to write in new products. You can take away that functionality if you don't want your team to be able to do it, but what you can do is come in here and search across your product set. So one of the really nice things you can do in here is come in and basically say, I want 3 of those, I want 5 of those, and I want 1 of those. And you can go add, and then save to opportunity. So you'll see that it'll take a moment to load, and then we've added those into the price list. If we've set up the system calculated functionality, it will work out what the amount of that deal is, if we've got any automated discounts set up for a particular user type, if we want to add freight, and we can also set up the tax functionality. So you can get a system calculated opportunity, and that's what shows up in your sales pipeline. And from there, you can go and create a quote. When you create a quote off an opportunity record, it will give you the option to pull through products from the opportunity. So what you can also see in this breakdown is you are able to manage cases, but we will drill into that. What you can see from this breakdown is with particular licenses, you are able to manage cases from inside the Sales Hub, but we will drill. What you can see here is you are able to manage cases from inside the Sales Hub. That's a very basic ticketing management capability from here. What we will do is drill down into cases in much more detail when we have a look at the customer service part of the system. So that will be the next part of this preview. The only other things that we just want to hit on while we're going through this part here, and this is system-wide, is the search functionality. If you do go into the search, what it will do is drop down recent searches. If I go in and type in an existing account that we're working with, it will drop open the things that it thinks are most relevant. And if I click on search more, what you'll see it'll do is it will actually open up and show us all of the record types where it knows we've got that Coho brand. And if I want to go in and look at phone calls, you'll see I can click on that and it will drill down and say this is the one that you're looking at here. So that will actually search inside the text and records to be able to look for that information rather than just being related to the record. So that search functionality is incredibly useful. So that's a general run through of the main points of the Sales Hub functionality. There is always additional things you can do with this part of the platform, being able to pull in data from external sources and having them linked and either mapping that data inside Dynamics for you to be able to manipulate it and push it back to another product, or you can have a virtual record where you can only read only what's going on. That's often used when we're working with something like a financial system and you want to see whether people are on things like credit hold or overdue with any of their payments or those sorts of things, and making that available to your sales team. We are also able to do a lot of changes to the visualization of the platform. And I think a really good way to understand that is seeing how different the deal manager can be from the standard form. A lot more control has come as the Dynamics platform and the Power Platform that Microsoft deliver for custom app development are being linked closer and closer together. So as mentioned, that's the end of the Sales Hub. Keep an eye out for the other parts of the system that we're going to drill into next.